Pennsylvania and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsman Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, the great outdoors with Jason White.
Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to the Great Outdoors. I have a great show today. It's been one heck of a week. We're going to be diving into some things with the Pennsylvania Fish Commission, following up on some conversations about permitting, some MOA upcoming events, a lot of fantastic things ongoing in Pennsylvania. And but first, I want to thank our sponsors, Mariana Outdoorsman Association, Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds, and last but not least, Washington County Tourism and Promotion Agency. Certainly without these groups, we could not exist doing what we're doing right here, sharing the great outdoors with you. I'm going to dive into some events for the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. This upcoming Friday, October 6th at 3 o'clock, we'll be doing a trout stalking, first one of the season. Really excited. We'll be stalking all areas operated by the MOA. So if you'd like to come check us out, if you want to see the property, please come take a tour that day. You'll get to see how we stalk, what we do. It's really a great thing. Bring the kids out. We welcome anyone and everyone. So please come join us. Saturday, October the 14th, we have 2 continental hunts going on that day. That is actually totally filled up. So really appreciate everybody's participation, and I want to thank everybody for getting in on that. Tremendous fundraiser for the organization. Friday, November 3rd, it'll be our second trout stalking, 3 o'clock. It'll be round number 2 of big fish. Saturday, November 18th, it is our annual members picnic. That'll be from 9 a.m. until we don't know, ? And it's also our veterans and first responders upland bird hunt. So if you're a veteran or a first responder, you do not need to be an MOA member to participate. We try to do our very best to give back to those that not only serve our community today, but also those that have, fought for this country. We try to do what we can do to thank them. And this is a little way of us, giving our appreciation and thanks. Going to dive into some things. We've been working on this habitat improvement down on Daniels Run. And it's a very enlightening experience. One thing I've learned in life is that government is not your friend. If you think it is, you're sadly mistaken. I had an experience here. We were doing some habitat development, all the permits, all that stuff, all the hoops you jump through, the red tape, as they like to call it. And lo and behold, fish warden shows up. Not our fish warden for the area, but a fish warden. And I'm going to tell you this story because it needs to be told, because people need to hear about the insane practices of weaponization of government and the things that we're dealing with here, and why Pennsylvania as a whole cannot progress forward to do things like habitat improvement, to improve the environment, to be better conservationists. It can't happen, and it can't happen because of pettiness. It can't happen because of derogatory and negative policies within certain agencies. And I don't want to point the fingers at the leadership within these agencies, because I think there are some tremendous people. But there are rogues, and the rogues are what cause a black eye and taint and ruin the great outdoors for a lot of people. But anyways, I'm eating my lunch, and here comes a fish warden. Not a hello, how you doing? Great to see you. Immediately, it's like, well, I don't have copies of your permits. I'm like, well, I've never even met you before. Like, who are you? And I'm filling in for today. This isn't even my district, is what I'm told. And I'm like, wow, okay. I'm like, well, come on over here. I have all the permits in the binder. You're happy to look at them. And immediately, oh, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. I'm like, well, you just said you didn't even look at my permits and you didn't even review anything. Well, you could just tell, like, I'm pretty good at reading people, and you could just tell right out of the gate, like, something was off. Like, this person's got an agenda or has a preconceived notion or something along the lines. And standing there, and he's flipping through these permits, and he openly admits to me, openly admits to me that he doesn't know anything about fish habitat. And it just like boggled my mind because I'm like, wait a minute. You're coming here to inspect this stuff and you don't know anything about it. Well, yep. So, um, the guy goes ahead and he like walks along. I was like, hey, bud, you can look at anything you want. Open door policy here. Look at whatever you want. There's nothing to hide here. Walks down a stream and looks at everything, taking a million pictures, and comes back up and he's like, well, you can't do what you're doing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, he made this claim that we were dredging the stream. And I was like, what in the world what are you talking about? And he looks at me and goes, well, you pulled some material out of the stream. And I said, well, no, that's not what we did. We got material for constructing stream habitat structures, and it's part of our permit. He goes, well, you can't do that. I said, listen, I can assure you, sure enough, pulled out the pages, looked at them. He's like, well, I've never seen that like that before. I was like, well, just because you haven't seen it, number one, doesn't mean it hasn't been done before. We did it here last year. I said, we had a humongous meeting back in January where all of this was hashed out and discussed, because this isn't some $250,000 government funded project here. This is private. We have to do things, from a financially conservative mindset. It's not like money's just falling off the trees. And then I had to like basically explain, like, this is how you build these things. This is how it works. You put the boulders in. Just because you put boulders in the water to build a rock crossvein, which is meant to basically deepen the pool of water above, and it creates a little pool of water below. You have to put some like material in the gaps, or else literally it just leaks and it doesn't serve its purpose. And well, he didn't know anything, and he was going to have to bring in other people because he's going to have to pass it over. Well, he's like, well, can you send me all your permits? He's like, my office doesn't have all your permits. I'm like, well, I kind of was like dumbfounded because I'm like, well, wait a minute here. Your agency approved all these permits. How do you not have copies of the permits? It seems to me like, looking back on it, it's like, well, how? That's a breakdown within your agency. The fact that you don't share information, like, that's an issue. But anyways, I go home immediately as soon as this person leaves, and emailed him all the permits. I don't get anything back like, oh, thank you for sending them, greatly appreciate it. Nothing. Just total and utter silence. Total and utter silence. Total and utter silence for, I think it was over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks. And out of the blue, on a Tuesday afternoon, I get an email. This was 2 weeks ago. I get an email that from the DEP saying, hey, we're going to do an inspection tomorrow. And here I see all these names CC'd on this email. People I'd never even heard of before, didn't know who they were. We'll be down at the site at 10 a.m. Doesn't ask me, like, are you working tomorrow? Are you available? Like, there was zero care. There was zero discussion. Nobody picked up the phone to just have a conversation. Like, hey, just want you to know. Zero common courtesy. Absolutely zero. Zero. So I scurry, get a hold of my engineer. Luckily, he was able to attend. Luckily, one of the equipment operators from the past couple of years was able to attend. But I had about 8 other people that were at the January meeting that I wanted to have in attendance, but they couldn't make it due to other work obligations. Anyways, get down to the property on that fateful Wednesday at 9:30, because, you always should be early for a meeting. For those out there, any youngsters that are going into college or young people, if you're on time or late, you're late. Be early. Anyways, 30 minutes early. 10 o'clock, we were there at 9:30 for a 10 o'clock meeting. 10 o'clock hits. 10:05, 10:10, 10:15, 10:20, 10:25, 10:30. I looked at my engineer. I said, I'm not sitting here all day. This is ridiculous. Like, this is, clearly somebody doesn't value our time. I waited till 10:35, and sure enough, here comes the caravan of government vehicles. 8 of them. 8 of them. I was literally like, what in the world is this? Like, what am I looking at right now? And everybody gets out, and you could just, again, I could read people. You could just tell something's off. But something that caught me, the last vehicle to pull in was the Pennsylvania Game Commission. So let me ask you this question, folks. What does the Game Commission have anything to do with fishing? What does the Game Commission have anything to do with fish habitat? The Daily Double answer is nothing. Absolutely nothing. They have zero oversight in this whole conversation, have zero reason to be at this meeting. I didn't invite them. I haven't figured out yet who invited them. But what I do know is me and this particular warden do not see eye to eye. Not at all. I've went toe-to-toe with him and had issues and whatnot where he's basically one of these rogue officers, in my opinion, that wants to run around with a pad and just write tickets to everybody. He's not an advocate of the outdoors. This isn't a person that cares about youth getting outside or even for the fact of somebody he's the kind of person that puts a black eye on enforcement. And that's a shame because there are so many great people within enforcement, but you have people like this. And why he was at this meeting, I'm still yet to figure out, but I can assure you I will figure it out. So anyways, now I see these people here with special agendas, and I'm like, well, what is it? What is going on? Why are these people even here? So then we kind of corral around in a circle, and there was a gentleman from Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission Habitat Division who I knew, who has approved all my permits. And I looked at him and I said, hey, can I talk to you here real privately, 1 second? And he looks at me and goes, who, me? And I was like, yeah, you. And I didn't know it was his boss standing next to him, but his boss goes, no. And I was like, excuse me? If you have something to say, you will say it in front of the entire group. And I looked at him and I was like, alrighty then, that's exactly what I will do. And see, what they didn't know is in my pocket, I had a document from a magisterial hearing that this particular fish warden, who's buddies with the game warden, to my understanding, they actually powwow around on their off hours, had made some pretty derogatory comments at a magisterial case, which it's on the record that I have, making bad comments about myself personally, mocked that my house burned down, and made some negative comments even about the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. But what they all didn't know is I had this in my pocket, and I had the proof. And I said, okay, all right, this is how you guys want to handle this, like to be this way, which none of them knew I had the document. All right, carry on. Let's do this, whatever this is. And we started, and the DEP just acted like they'd never been on the property before. Well, here, like, this was at least the fourth time that I know of that not only we'd had meetings, but reviewed the projects, talked about everything, discussed what we were doing and how we were doing it, etc. And long story short, start walking, looked at the first couple structures, and it was like if it would have been the Sims video game, you'd have saw question marks above a bunch of people's heads, like the little bubbles popping up, because it was just like these people were there. Half of the group had never been there before. So like they're asking all these questions, and I'm like, well, first of all, I looked at the warden and I said, well, fish warden, I said, why is my warden not here? You've made it clear this isn't your district. Oh, he's in training today. And I said, okay. Well, I guess he must have been in training the other day whenever you came here. I said, why would we not have had this meeting on a day where he could have attended so he could have understood like what was going on here, what we're doing, and answered any questions? And he looks at me with this snarky look like, oh, I'll never forget that look. And he just looks at me and goes, don't you worry, I'll make sure he's up to speed. And I was like, oh, all right. I feel so empowered now to know that you're going to make sure that everybody's up to speed, because clearly you guys communicate so well, even to how you conduct a meeting. So we walk downstream, and a guy from DEP looks at me and he says, well, did you take any material out of the stream? And I said, yes, I did. He goes, well, you can't do that. And I said, well, yes, I can. He goes, well, what do you mean you can? I was like, this isn't your first time here. I was like, I personally have met with you here at least 3 times, if not 4. This is the 4th. And he looks at me and goes, well, I go to a lot of places. I don't remember everywhere I go. And I was literally just, my jaw dropped. I'm like, so you're telling me that you talk to people and you have agreements and have discussions and it's like null and void because you just have a forgetful mind? I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. So, anyways, he says, well, what did you do with the material? And I said, it went into the structures. That's what the permit says, is that we can use material from the stream bed to go into the structures. Well, you can't do that. That's dredging. And I said, listen, I'm well aware that that officer over there is the one that gave you that word dredging. Like I'm aware of that because until he started using that word a few weeks ago, never heard that word uttered here. But no, this isn't dredging. Dredging is when you actually take the material and remove it from the stream bed and get it out of here. We did not apply for a permit to do that, nor did we do that. The material is in those structures. It's right there, right there. And I pointed at it. I'm like, it's right there. See it? Right there, right there. And the guy I literally then magically out of the back pocket, whoop, here comes the permit, go right to the page. And it's right there. I put all these notes on the last permit. He says to me, well, who put these notes on here? I'm like, well, I did, of course. I said, do you not remember the meeting that we had in January where all this was discussed? And I actually asked you and I asked the Fish Commission, did I need to put these notes on my prior permits? I was like, because I just wanted to make sure that, okay, yeah, I know you guys are here, but if you leave the office and somebody else comes in new and has a different interpretation, that I don't want to be going over this again. Fast forward, I had to send in some more permits, but guess what? I trust but verify. And I trusted my gut. My gut said, put those notes on there to protect your rear. That's exactly what I did. I put the notes on there. When he saw those pages, his like jaw dropped. He's like, who did that? I was like, well, I did, of course. I wasn't going to not cover myself. I mean, I believe that your word is your bond. And when you shake somebody's hand and look them in the eye, you should do everything in your power to uphold that. But from what I've learned, people will stab you in the back as quick as they can drop a nickel on the floor. And looked at him and I said, it's right here. It's right here on the paper. Like what else is there for us to? It even says that sizes are approximate and not exact. Like how detailed do you want to get into this? Like it's right here. So we walked down a stream the whole way. And I did the inspection, got through everything. And I asked probably 3 different times. I said, why is the game commission here? I asked the DEP, I asked the county, and I asked representatives from the Fish Commission. Nobody would answer me. They were just like, I don't know. I don't know why he's here. I said, well, what do we need the Fish Commission and Game Commission here? I don't understand. The Game Commission has zero to do with this whole proposition that we're even reviewing this stuff. And in my opinion, at this juncture, it's a total and utter waste of governmental resources. It's a waste to us as sportsmen. It's an absolute disgrace to the enforcement side of these commissions because I never even heard the guy speak the whole time. He never said a word. He just walked around hovering like a little vulture, hawk, like there to be either a witness or there is somebody's backup. Well, I hate to say it, but like if the game commission has to back up the Fish Commission, why do we need 2 agencies? Just have a department of wildlife and conservation. Like for all I would care at this juncture, and I'll say this openly, I would not care if the Game Commission and Fish Commission got consolidated into DCN, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and I would just have an enforcement division under that umbrella. There's no reason whatsoever, from what I can see, that these agencies need to separately exist, that you need to be driving separate vehicles. Well, I mean, it's insane. It's utterly, utterly, utterly a waste, a total waste. We talk about crazy spending and wasteful money. Listen, I run an organization that isn't that big in the big scheme of things. When you look at government, we're very financially minded. We look at dollars and cents. We don't spend money just to like burn it down the drain. How can we make our dollar turn into $10? Or how do we make a penny turn into a dollar? If you understand what I'm saying. Investing good, doing things, that are cost effective, cost efficient. Because guess what? I don't have some endless government budget or government handouts to do these types of things, to make the environment better, to be more conservation minded, to provide better habitat, not only for aquatic species, but also both areas that we stock trout have beaver dams that built. I didn't build them. The beavers built them. The beavers built them because clearly it's good habitat. They're happy. Well, I'll be darned. Isn't that what we just did was fish habitat improvement? And here it seems that the mammals enjoy it just as well. But the whole point is that we're wasting money on having 2 and 3 of the same thing. And it's insane. It's duplicate services. And it goes back to what I've talked about in past shows is the ridiculous nature of permitting in Pennsylvania. And I want to bring up permitting because not only do we have all these permits, have we had all these special meetings to go over and answer everything, which everybody then miraculously has amnesia and they don't ever remember having a meeting, which I think is absurd because not only do they want to waste my time, they want to waste your tax dollars. They want to waste the government money that's collected from fishing license fees, boater registration, the hunters out there. Like, I'm sorry, but the fact that game warden was there, I'm not going to let it go. I refuse to let it go. I refuse to let it go because he shouldn't have been there. He had no business being there. He was on a rogue mission. And I want every listener out there to know it. I want every listener out there to understand that there are tremendous, good-hearted people within a lot of government agencies. But some, in my opinion, are not good people. They couldn't be further from being remotely even close to being semi-good. Their heart's in the wrong place. Probably somebody with an ego trip, somebody that's got an agenda, somebody that's got an axe to grind. Those are not people you want representing these agencies. You want people in these agencies that truly believe in the outdoors, that truly believe in fishing, that truly believe in that grandfather taking his grandson or the kids going with their parents on opening day of trout season, kids fishing with their parents in November, fly fishing on a stream or just enjoying the great outdoors. Somebody going hunting with their family on opening day of archery or opening day of deer season, making those memories. That's what's important. Putting in that work all summer to make that deer harvest in the fall. Not these rogue agencies with rogue people with ulterior motives and ulterior agendas. And that is what's wrong with this state. And for anybody out there that thinks I'm like maybe painting some picture that isn't fact, I can assure you, I have all the documentation and I carry all the receipts. So anybody wants to see anything, anybody wants to look at what I'm talking about, it's an atrocity of not only what I've been subjected to, but the things that I've seen, the ridiculous permitting measures, the fact that you apply for the permits and then you're held to these ridiculous standards after the fact because they don't even know how to read them or look at them or weren't part of the conversation. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Fish Commission warden. Oh, I asked, well, why weren't you at the meeting back in January? And he looks at me with this straight face. He was totally serious. He goes, well, that's when I go hunting. He goes, that's my time. I looked at him and I go, well, it seems that due to your lack of communication internally here, you're now encroaching upon my time because this was all hashed out and discussed. And because you're confused, I have to be inconvenienced. The engineer has to be convinced. Guess what? The engineer's not free. Equipment operator being on site, not free. So, but that's okay. But that's okay because I'd hate to inconvenience your hunting, Mr. Warden. But the point is, these things utterly suck. And we need to bring a light to the darkness of these misdeeds, these inept human beings, because I'm sorry, some of these people are very inept and they've lost their way. And they're pushing sportsmen away. I cannot tell you how many stories that I've heard where people were just totally in a negative way viewing the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission and the Pennsylvania Game Commission based upon enforcement because of how people were treated. They need to be doing a better job of educating people, educating our youth. And if somebody makes a mistake, not like somebody's out there to just be, my goodness, just like somebody that's out there just be a criminal. people make mistakes. It's no different than somebody that, my goodness, gets a speeding ticket and the police officer lets them off. I'm not saying that. I mean, obviously that's at their discretion, and those are things that when somebody does do wrong, that's their discretion. But you don't ever hear those stories. You don't ever hear about somebody like trying to educate somebody as to what you can and can't do. It's, oh, you're getting a ticket, or oh, you should have known better. Should have known better. And it's like, my gracious, like, do you people not have a soul or a heart to like educate somebody or have forgiveness in your hearts? It's immediately like, got to whip out that pen and write that $250 or $500 citation. And I just think I did feel at the time that that's where these people, where their heads were at, was like, oh, we're going to write a citation just because we arbitrarily say so. Well, I hate to say it, but I hold my receipts very close to the chest, and I make sure to cover my bases, cover my dot my I's, cross my T's, etc. And the situation has been disheartening. I'm very passionate about it. I'm passionate about it because I can't stand when a government sits there and says, "Well, we're here to be your friend, or we're here to help you, or oh, we care about the environment, or we care about this, or we care about that, global warming, blah blah blah." It's a big crock of crap, and everybody needs to know that it's a crock of crap because you have groups like what I'm dealing with that are trying to do good. They're trying to help veterans. That are trying to help first responders. That are trying to help children get on a better path. Kids with probation that took a bad angle in life, and I'm trying to bring them back to the center line. Building relationships with family members that haven't seen each other or haven't talked much, but now they're trying to get into the outdoors as a mechanism. People that have been recovering drug addicts. People that were ex-military that fought for this country and were in some hellacious situations, but came back and learned to fish and hunt as a mechanism, as a mental clarity, as a peace to their heart, as a positive time builder in their lives, and all that good. And I got to deal with this garbage. And I'm flabbergasted. I'm just flabbergasted as to how they speak out of one side of their mouth about how they care about all these things, and yet they literally flush it all down the commode in these small, negative, but big acts. And then I get a call this morning. From one of the folks in my group that's, I won't say the club, but there's another fishing club not too far away. And the same warden that came and is causing me issues, proceeds to tell them that, oh, effective January 1st, if you don't have fish stocking permits, telling the Fish Commission where you're stocking, what you're stocking, and how much you're stocking, you'll get a $150 fine. Well, I thought that this policy was killed last year by a lot of people voicing their displeasure about it, and I'm gonna make it an issue. I can assure you, for everybody listening, this is an insane policy, and I'm going to tell you why it's insane. Can anybody tell me not only what stream, but can you tell me the exact number of fish, the exact size of fish, and the exact species of fish that are stocked by the Pennsylvania Fish Commission? Daily double answer, I will tell you, you can't. Yes, they tell you that they're stocking streams, and they might even have a general idea of species, but you don't know exactly the number that went in. You don't know exactly the sizes broken down like you would. For example, when I go to stock, I get a receipt from the hatchery. Everything's broken down. The number of fish, blah, 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 blah. They don't do that. They don't provide you that information. Oh, yeah, we stocked this stream. Oh, okay, with what? 300 8 to 10 inch rainbow trout. Is that what you put in? I mean, people deserve to know that, right? It's public information, or at least it should be. My disdain for this is they can't even do permitting. Not only getting permits approved, but also the oversight of permits is a total and utter joke in this state. Now we want to add another layer where, oh yeah, now we want you to tell us what you're stocking. Well, let me ask you this question. Why? You don't tell me what you're doing right now. You don't give any grave detail or like, I want to know the nitty gritty of what you're doing. You don't tell me. And then you want me to tell you what I'm doing, which you're not going to promote anything that I'm doing, although that everybody that fishes at our private organizations, which are open to the public for a daily fee, as much as a lot of these other groups around the Commonwealth. So you want to get our information, but you're never going to promote anybody. Although if a fish warden shows up at any private club across the whole Commonwealth, they still have to have a fishing license. So the Fish Commission's raking in money off the efforts. Like, I can tell you right now, if all the private clubs in Pennsylvania quit stocking trout, like if we all just said, you know what, we're going to revolt and not stock trout, the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission would cease to exist. It would be done. Dead as a doornail. Because I could very easily, if I want to go catch big fish, I'll go up to New York up and catch king salmon, brown trout, steelhead. I'm not going to go, certain places in PA where it's elbow to elbow circus. And the quality of fish that are stocked by the Fish Commission just aren't up to par with what the private sector's doing. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen what the Fish Commission stocks. Nothing against their efforts. Hey, that's great. Public wants to go fish those, go fish them. But the private clubs exist for a reason, because they do what the Fish Commission doesn't or won't do. You have private clubs stocking fish that are 20 to 34 plus inches, 10 to 14 pound trout. Does the Fish Commission ever stock fish that big? Probably. I'm not going to say they don't. But out of 300 fish, there might be 2 fish that are like that. Not in the capacities of what I'm talking about, where in 300 fish, we might have 10 to 15 fish that are in a very, very, very large size. The thought or notion to create another permitting barrier in Pennsylvania is insane. The fact that the Fish Commission doesn't promote the efforts of private groups is insane. The fact that wardens do not have a relationship with local clubs is insane. The fact that habitat improvement is not promoted and bolstered with private clubs is insane. The path that we're on as clubs is for our own survival and to provide to people things that the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission and Pennsylvania Game Commission fail to provide. That's fact. There's nothing more or less than that conversation. We fill the gap. We're the void fillers. We provide what they will not. Hey, you want to go catch fish for 1 week or 3 days or even a day on some of these streams for opening day of trout season? Be my guest. But what are you going to do in the winter? What is all being stocked? Few and far between areas. And when they are stocked, it's these little dinky fish that literally almost, if they don't fall through your fishing net, close enough to doing so. The mediocrity of what I've seen is a sin. I think that there needs to be a complete light, a bright light shined on what's going on, not only with permitting, but also with this overreach of enforcement, this total inept, oh, well, I forgot, or I don't remember being at that meeting, or, oh, well, yeah, we want you to apply for this permit, which then later on somebody else says, well, you didn't need to apply for that. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. But yet they want you to, we want to, let's whip out that little pen and write a little citation to somebody. Like, well, guess what? I'll see you in court. Because we live in a country where I have my day. I've been there before, defended myself, and I've won. And this overreach, these ridiculous tactics, these walls that I've watched are egregious. They're disappointing. They're pushing people away from the outdoors when we should be bringing people in. And things have to change, folks. Things have to change, because if we want kids to get in the outdoors, if we want families, veterans, first responders, and for that matter, heck, I want people from other states to come here. I mean, outside of going to Lake Erie steelhead fishing, you would be hard pressed to find folks from, let's just say, North Carolina. I'll use North Carolina as an example. I'll also use New York. That people are going to come to Pennsylvania to fish for, let's say, trout. I say that because I have members of my association from both places. Some folks from Buffalo, New York, and I have a group of fly fishermen. It's actually a ladies' fly fishing group down in North Carolina, and they come up because their states do not stock the species of trout that we do. The proof's in the pudding. People will come here. People will travel near and far to come to Pennsylvania to enjoy. It's a matter of being friendly. It's a matter of promoting what you have. It's a matter of developing and enhancing habitat, which I could make an extreme argument that it is lackluster at best in that arena when it comes to habitat improvement throughout the Commonwealth. It should be something that we invest a lot more money into, whether that's, and when I say that, I'm talking about these agencies that are collecting your fees and saying that, oh yeah, they're all about protecting and promoting habitat and improving habitat. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, you drive by some of these game lands and it's a joke. Like what food plots are you putting out? What are you actually doing to enhance and develop? Are you planting oak trees? Are you planting chestnuts? Are you planting like sunflower fields? Are you planting deer plots for deer, like hayfield type things? What is it that you're actually doing? You're going to be hard pressed. You're going to be extremely hard pressed by what you, the consumer, will find out that they're actually doing. They're doing not nearly enough. It's poor product. Putting a poor, as I heard the Steelers coach say, putting a poor product on the field. And I'm giving you the same analogy with what I'm seeing out of the Fish Commission and Game Commission because, to be honest with you, I've really had enough with such a poor product. Such a poor product. And it's not that there aren't good people in these agencies, and it's not that they don't even have good leadership. But when you have these rogue folks that are basically the boots on the ground, that are the segue for positive or negativity, that's the really frustrating and disheartening notion of it all. That you have people that aren't on the same page with us, with the people that are enjoying and the advocates of the great outdoors, people that understand, what these communities need and aspire to be, what beauty Pennsylvania has to offer. We need change. We definitely need change. We need to raise the awareness. We need to raise the stakes. As the saying goes, button up your chin strap because this is going to be a little bit of an intense football game that we're going to be getting into here. But we just we cannot accept government telling us we got to apply for permits and then they get amnesia. We can't accept doing things based upon agreements and then they have such a forgetful mindset. We can't accept the lack of cooperation, the inability of them seeing us as assets as much as our collaboration together as an asset to this state. We're really being underserved, undervalued, and I think it needs to change. And it's only going to change with our collective voices, picking up that phone, call your state representative, call your senator, call the Game Commission and Fish Commission. All you got to do is Google the phone numbers, who your state rep is, who your senator. Call your county commissioners. Just let them know, this stuff matters to you. Hey, permitting's gotten extreme. Hey, we'd like to see these projects done on our local streams and waterways. Hey, we'd love to see, the game lands enhanced and improved. hey, we'd love to see the wardens come into the schools or the biologists and talk to the kids about, aquatic science or mammals or uh, talk about trapping or hunting or archery or the list can go on and on and on. But we're failing. We're failing. We're failing our youth. We're failing to promote the great outdoors of Pennsylvania. And I'm just really disheartened by the conduct and actions of people within these agencies that are just they're hurting. They're hurting you. Clearly they're out to try to hurt me. But that's okay. I have thick skin. I'll take it. Um, but we're just going to forge ahead as a collective body, and awareness is step one. So I hope you all are aware. I hope that you do speak to your elected officials. I hope that you speak to your counties and let them know that recreation, the outdoors, tourism, it matters to you. And with state agencies that are with people that are rogue, it's not helping our cause. But I'm going to wrap up by going into, I want to go over our events one more time for the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. This Friday, October the 6th at 3 o'clock, we have a trout stalking. Saturday, October 14th, we have a continental pheasant hunt. That is full. Appreciate everybody's participation. Friday, November 3rd at 3 o'clock, we have a trout stalking. Saturday, November 18th, 9 a.m. is our annual members picnic. Not sure what the end time will be. And at that same time, same location at Wild Acres Farm, 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, PA 15322. We will be hosting our annual veteran and first responders upland bird hunt, which falls underneath of our MOA dog tag program. I did want to mention that we're running a special right now through the end of the year for 2024 MOA memberships. If you join now, you get the rest of this year for free. Again, I repeat, if you join now, you get the rest of the year for free, and you get all of the next calendar year. You can join at Wild Acres Farm in person. Again, 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, PA 15322. If you don't want to do that, you can join on our website. It's MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. Lots of information on our website. Additionally, we have Facebook, Instagram, Mariana Outdoorsman Association at Facebook. We also have our MOA Outdoors channel on YouTube. Lots of great information there. All of these shows are published on there. So if you want to go back and watch or listen to our shows, and last but not least, we're on Anchor and Spotify for our podcasts. We try to get our information out as best we can. We try to share as much as possible with you to keep you up to speed on not only our efforts as an association, but also what's going on in beautiful Pennsylvania. I just want to say thank you again to all the listeners. I hope that you will enjoy the great outdoors of Pennsylvania. If you haven't yet, just try it. Go fishing, go hunting, go for a hike, go for a bike ride. Heck, go golfing. See a lot of beautiful wildlife on a golf course. Can't stress that enough. And right now is an awesome and amazing time to golf Pennsylvania. But until next week, friends, this is Jason White signing off. God bless, and you have a great week and weekend.
And that's been the Great Outdoors here on